I want to start a little series here, and it's from a series of articles from a magazine called Influence Magazine. And influence is simply the term for leadership. If you have leadership, if you have influence with people, you have leadership. In other words, if you can be able to direct simply by saying, I think we should do this or I think we should do that, then you have maybe a certain degree of leadership where people are listening to you, and that's a good thing to have. And tonight we want to talk about leadership in a sense is how to build influence, and one of the first ways is to be trustworthy. So the thing we have to look at when we're looking at being trustworthy is, what does trustworthy leadership look like to you? I am sure that I did not get all the opportunities I wanted to have or that I thought I should have because I maybe there were some things about me that were not that I was untrustworthy, and that's, I guess it has to be, but maybe there were some things that they just couldn't. I didn't get all the opportunities I wanted because there was something about the way I was living life or what I was doing that they could not trust me with the bigger things that I thought I should get, right? And that's on me. That's not on them. I thought maybe I deserved, bigger opportunities or more trust in areas, and maybe there was something, maybe because of age or inexperience or whatever it is, that I did not get some of those moments. And so I'm trying to be trustworthy as I can to when I go before a youth group or a church. Man, that's trust. People are giving you 30 minutes to talk to people. They're giving you an opportunity to speak and to share and to influence. And so many people waste that. I mean, they waste the opportunity. They just think that it's entitled to them. And I don't see it that way. I see it as a great opportunity to build trust. And so many times what happens is we waste the opportunity because we either think we deserved it, we were entitled to it, or we just didn't care enough. And we did not capture the moment as an opportunity to build influence. And one way to build influence is to be trustworthy. That's what we're talking about tonight. There's a proverb that says, Proverbs 13:17 says, a wicked messenger falls into trouble, but a trustworthy envoy brings healing. Another saying says, people don't listen to you speak, they watch your feet. That's pretty good. That's pretty good saying there, because listen, you can say all you want about that I'm trustworthy, but you've got to act in accordance and act in alignment that you are trustworthy with the things that you have and that have been given to us. Even the Apostle Paul, 1 Corinthians 4:2 says, now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. When we're given opportunities to, whether that's a job, whether that's a role or responsibility, whether that's a title, whether that's whatever that is, whatever we receive from somebody, if they give it to us, it is their, it's their, what do I want to say? It's their noticing some trust in us. And so when we're given something, and I just think that's a big deal, because if we don't take if we're given something, it means that somebody trusts us with it. If somebody tells us a secret, if somebody tells us, gives us a responsibility to do, and we don't look upon that with gratitude, we're not building influence. We're tearing it down by misusing time or resources or any of those things. Some other things here, some ways that you can build. They give some 4 things here that I'll share with you guys. When you have trust, I like this, is when you have trust, things are easier and move faster with less resistance. In fact, trust is easy to overlook until you no longer have it. Then it's a long, hard uphill climb to rebuild it. Trust is the hidden multiplier. So I like that, because if you have trust, you can take it and multiply, whether it's trying to grow a youth group or grow an audience of people that you're trying to be trustworthy with. I know I was a little late tonight. I need to be more trustworthy in how I use my time, but I had various things. I had to charge my phone, other issues. That's on me. but to be trustworthy with people's time, like coming on here and being on here at 8 o'clock. Sometimes I hit it, sometimes I don't. I need to build better trust. If you're putting out, whatever, a message of any kind, it's important that we be trustworthy. You give me your attention, and I need to be trustworthy that I value that time and that attention. If I don't, then you're not going to pay attention anymore. And that's the same thing when I get to speak in front of young people or a congregation. If I waste that time, or if I don't look at that opportunity with some humility in my heart, then I'm losing. I'm losing influence, and I need to be able to be better at that. Amen. So that's what we got to do. Stephen Covey notes that most leaders operated by a misguided formula, which is S times E equals R. In other words, strategy times execution equals results. I would say it this way. We say A plus B equals C. And A plus B does not always equal C. We think, well, if I have a strategy and times it by execution, then I'm going to get a certain amount of results. And I just don't think that formula is true, especially in the area with young people. When you're dealing with young people, you say, well, I'm going to throw an event. I don't know how many times we throw an event. And you think, well, if I have all these elements as part of an event to draw young people, it doesn't always mean young people are going to show up. It just doesn't. Because you're relying upon the strategy. At times, you said, well, if I have a strategy and if I execute well, then it should result in whatever I think are in our results, right? But many times it doesn't work that way, and we are disappointed. And it's because maybe sometimes, that kids don't show up or you don't get the results you want because maybe there's some trust issues or trust worthiness that maybe that the way you built the event or the way you advertised the event did not build trust into those people that were listening to it. And they said, well, I'm not going to come then. Once again, that's not on the kids, that's on me. So how do you build hidden variable of trust, right? How do you build that hidden variable of trust? There are 4 keys to get started. Number 1, build trust in your character, right? How we live, how we do, keeping our word, doing what we say we're going to do, how we handle money, how we, handle our household, whatever it may be. Just living life in such a way, that people can't call into question, whether or not they should give you any more responsibility. And that's true of work. Listen, if you work at McDonald's or if you work at anywhere, you have to be able to build trust with your bosses or your supervisors, because if you don't, they're the ones who are saying whether or not they're watching character. They're watching, are they responsible? Are they doing the things they said they were going to do, and they're doing it right? Are they doing it well? And if they don't do that, then they're saying that person's not ready for a promotion. That person's not ready for a pay raise. That person's not ready for those things. So to be trustworthy and to build influence with your boss, you have to be able to look at your character and say, well, then you say, well, why didn't I get X? Or why? And once again, it may not be entirely upon that, but that's certainly one of the keys that we can all work on and say, okay, I can do better. I can do better. I can do better with my character. I can do better at living out my values. I can do better at showing up to work on time. I can do better at doing my job to the best of my ability, and doing it humbly and those things. So there's things we can look at. The second thing we can work on to build influence or to build trust is communication, right? Failure to communicate usually leads people to jump to conclusions or second guess intentions and fill in the gaps with misinformed assumption. So when we are able to communicate with people about what we do, what we have going on, one of the things is building, trust with you guys, that I'm going to come on Sunday nights and saying, look, I'm going to communicate what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell it to you, and then that's it. I'm not going to get on here and sell a bunch of things or waste your time, but I'm going to use communication in a proper way so that I can be able to build trust with people. It's nobody likes people who, just like marketing. You buy something from Amazon because of good marketing. There's things because we buy it because it's branded well. We buy it, and then we're disappointed sometimes when we get the thing we thought we wanted, and we get it, and we go, oh, well, that was rather sad. That's not what I expected. And that's a failure of communication, which leads to lack of trust, right? I'm not going to trust this brand or this company or this thing because they did not communicate to me what they were giving me, right? That gets into, the old school car salesman, right? They sell you this is the best car ever, and then you get it home and it's a lemon 6 months later, and they won't help you and they won't do anything about that. Well, that's one way if you want to, not build trust. Miscommunicate things. Always tell people what you're going to do and then do what you said and communicate that way. The third thing is this: if you want to build trustworthiness and be able to build influence with people, the third thing is compassion. And compassion is when you notice, right, people and you care for people. Another way you could say is empathy, right? You can build trust with people by simply caring, by simply giving a rip, by simply saying, listen, I'm feeling you. I get it. It's the people who don't do that. It's the people, like, I don't trust people who don't, can't relate, right? Or can't, sense where I'm at in the moment. Or, it's hard for me to trust those people because they have their own agendas, or that's fine. They can have their own agendas just because, they can have what they want to have, but that doesn't mean they get to have my trust. I've worked for leaders who, in my opinion, were not necessarily compassionate people, and they could not relate to something that I was going through. And so I didn't trust to tell them certain things. I didn't trust them with my feelings, or I didn't trust them with those things. And to be compassionate, to be empathetic, is to build trust, is to say, I'm listening. I'm listening to you. I am listening. I am hearing. That's how, any good relationships works, right? You're compassionate. You're saying, I'm listening. You're doing all those things. And the fourth and final thing, to be able to build trustworthiness, if, this week you're thinking there's areas of my life, where can I build up my trust? How can I get to where I want to go? Well, it's about building trust with people, with your leaders, with your relationships, with your peers, with those, if you're a leader, by the way, maybe you are the boss. Maybe you are the person, and you have to build trust with the leaders that you have around you, or that are slightly below you, possibly, that you oversee. Let me tell you something. If you want to build influence with those people around you, these things, building character and communication and compassion, are super critical to leading a team, right? And those are super important. Not only are you trying to earn trust from the people above you, you want to earn trust from the people that are around you, or maybe that you oversee. Now, the fourth and final thing is, if you want to build trust with people around you, and that is consistency. Consistency. Anybody can do anything right once, but trustworthy people have learned to live with character, communicate, show compassion consistently. And when the desired quality is delivered consistently over time, trust naturally grows. And that's the key for me. I've been a youth pastor for 30 years, and for those that may not be aware, I retired from full-time youth pastoring. But I'd like to think that through doing these videos, or through doing the videos I do on YouTube, or doing writing on my blog, or things that I do on my podcast, that I have put out a certain breadth of not just knowledge, but of saying, listen, not only have I been in this a long time, but I've tried to build my character. I've tried to communicate well. I've tried to have compassion and listen to other youth workers or people that work in the church or other believers. And I've tried to be consistent with that. I've tried to be consistent on Sunday nights. I've tried to be consistent doing 3 videos a week, where now I have a little over 3,000, 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, which, by the way, I'm thrilled and I am honored. But I have to earn that every week. I have to say, why do I have to earn your trust every time I put out a video, or every time I do a podcast, or why should you subscribe, or why? I just have to do those things because I want to build trust with people, because I'm not going to jack them around. I'm not going to go on and off. You think about the people that you don't follow. It's probably because they're not consistent. Maybe they lack one of these things here. So take some time this week. Take some time this week and reflect upon your own life this week. Who are you leading that in the areas that I talked about, just to recap, right? To build trustworthiness in 4 areas: character, communication, compassion, and consistency. how do I need to, where do I need to invest that time with not only the people that I'm leading or the people who I am led by, so that I can have greater opportunity, so that I can have greater opportunities and they'll trust me with more responsibility, more money, bigger budget, uh, uh, information, all those kind of things are important. And by the way, I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. This article that I'm reading from an article here that I thought was really good and worthy of your time was an article from a magazine called Influence Magazine, and it has a lot of really great articles and things like that. So I want to make sure that you guys know that I'm just not making this. I'm just not making this up myself. I'm actually drawing it from somewhere. I want to be able to make sure. See, that's part of building trust too. Is not to claim other people's work as your own. Be sure, by the way, if you would like to, find out any more about the ministry that I do, if you'd like to have me come speak to your young people, your church, you can go to thediscipleproject.net. That's thediscipleproject.net. All kinds of resources there. You can sign up for the newsletter, all that kind of jazz, and get more into whatever it is I'm into, which is young people and discipleship and training leaders. So if that is of interest to you, stop by thediscipleproject.net and you can find out more there. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. Appreciate you guys hanging out for a little while, and hopefully I will catch you guys on the next Sunday. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.